have our third band of the night here. So we'd already referenced you guys all individually in some of the earlier interviews with the other bands that are playing here tonight. But
Sweet.
Thank you for sparing a few minutes to sit with me.
Anytime.
So, as I mentioned, a lot of people would know Willie Stratton as Willie Stratton. Sara, you've done a few different things, and I know of you being with Willie, like, every time I see him, you're with him. But aside from that, probably as far as, like, buzzy stuff for people that are watching my show, Skunk Motel is probably the one that I hear you referenced for the most.
Yeah.
So, and I was just at that Food for the Years the other day. I wasn't there the whole night, but I've been checking out all the photographs and it seemed like you guys had an amazing performance there.
It was a really fun show.
It sounds
like good venue.
And then I have a new to me person, so we technically just met, but let's do that again for the sake of people that are here watching. Maybe I'll get you to take the microphone from it, we'll do a quick little...
Yeah.
So...
My name is Peter MacInnis, and I'm from Mabon, Cape Breton, and I play drums with the Boojums, and I also play music with a band called Beach Hill, and I play folky kind of music and do some of my own stuff at home.
And now, I already mentioned that I'm familiar with these two, but how did you hook up?
I always been a fan, I must admit. Always been a fan of Willie and Sara, and I seen them at Blueberry Jam one time, and I just kind of said to myself, I want to play drums for them. I always had that in the back of my mind. And I went to go see this witch in the Mabocoma. No, I was
buying it. This is interesting.
Yeah. And then, they just, I just always had it in my head. And then somehow they moved to Port Hawkesbury. And then he sent me a message wondering if he knew anybody that played drums around. And I just kind of said a bunch of people, and I said, I can bang on them while you're practicing. And I just went out and started banging on them, and we started jamming.
Amazingly, that's almost Justin's story, the drummer from Gardner that was just sitting right there a few minutes ago. Almost the exact same story.
Pretty much.
That Landon was looking for a drummer.
Sweet.
And he's like, well, I can also do that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, obviously, I've heard of the band. So, the name, the Boojums, where does that come from? Is it a Willie thing?
It's a Lewis Carroll thing. Like when I was kind of first starting the band, I guess, like, or when I came with the name, like, I was kind of sort of thinking more in like kind of psych garage sort of direction. But so I was like looking through some Lewis Carroll characters or creatures, you know what I mean? And a lot of them are taken, but the Boojums was not taken, like, as far as I could find, which I was sort of surprised by. So I was just like, all right, gotta do something with that name, I guess.
Yeah. I like it. It's unique and catchy, and I hear it all the time recently, which is very nice for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you're here playing live tonight, and we'd already talked to the other people playing tonight. So you had just played last night in Port Hawkesbury as well, which sounded like you were very instrumental in making that happen venue-wise. Yeah.
It's just a yacht club, which is like pretty much across the street from us, like just down the hill a little bit. So it's a sweet venue, and they were like super stoked and super helpful, like the folks who volunteer there, and I'm excited to do more shows there and bring in some cool bands. And
it seems like there's a little scene there now, like I'm sure
like,
there always was.
I find throughout Cape Breton right now, it's like a crazy time for rock music. Like there's just so many people doing stuff. Yeah. You know, and I think so many people have moved back home during the pandemic and stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what happened to us. Like we got sort of priced out of Halifax, and you know, just wanted to have a more chill existence that wasn't so expensive and you know, less hustle and bustle, and like that's given us time to focus on music, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, a lot of people we've talked to have gone through similar experiences in bands that we dig. So like, I just, it's such a good time for music, and like there's, you know, it's like there's cool people everywhere these days, you know what I mean? It's not like you have to go to the city to find cool people or whatever. Like there's cool people all over the place.
Yeah, there's definitely, I'm finding little pocket scenes
Yeah.
everywhere with lots of cool vibes, and each area has your own vibe, but inside each one there's a little bit of every genre that you could possibly imagine.
Totally.
So I know for yourself, this is a genre change somewhat as well. You got a little bit more, there's a little bit of punk to it that maybe more so was that kind of rockabilly vibe maybe before. Like, so with this project, is that a collective thing influencing it, or is that just you flexing a different muscle?
I don't know. I mean, like, I find, like, you know, I've done like surf punk records, and like my earliest stuff is pretty folk punk. So like, to me, it doesn't feel that foreign. You know, it's like it's really just garage rock, I'd say. Like, I don't know, however you want to describe it. I don't know. I'm just writing songs pretty much, and yeah, I don't know. I think I like that we're not setting out to do a certain genre. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, it's fun to put together a rockabilly band or a surf band or, you know, a country band, and sort of like the concept be the genre, which is cool. But I find, like, to me, this band has been sort of letting go of that, and it's sort of like found itself into like sort of a punk direction, I guess. Which, you know, it's like you're always going to be able to classify music somehow. But it's like, I guess it's less genre driven than some of the earlier stuff I've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and we're just kind of like, seeing where it goes, I guess. Because,
it kind of fits well with, like, when we were talking earlier with Ten Slip. I was talking a little bit about genre more so from the aspect that all three of the bands tonight kind of fit into different little categories.
Right.
But the overall thing with Ten Slip themselves, the influences they had, which I'm sure similar to yourselves, coming from smaller communities and growing up without having necessarily like a Halifax type scene in your backyard all the time,
right,
means that you're going to see your friends' bands, and when you go to those gigs, which are sometimes not an established venue, it might be some other club or something that you're using the space for,
right,
you're going to see a mixed lineup. You're not going to see country bands, you're not going to see rock bands, you're not going to see
exactly
bands. You're going to see your friends' bands that are all at the same place on Friday nights.
It's a little more open. Yeah.
It's definitely caused the industry, I don't know, I don't think it's unique to the East Coast, but it's been like a melting pot of genres. Like
for sure.
No specific artist seems to these days stick to one specific category. Like, there's no boxes.
Yeah. I just think that can get pretty old pretty fast.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's really central to the concept, you know what I mean? Which is cool too. But I find it's like, it's not always the most effective thing to like stick with one thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, it all depends on what you're doing, I guess, but you know. Yeah.
So where does that go? Like, obviously I know I'll be seeing you live tonight, and you love performing live. I've seen you guys performing live before. So it's obviously playing live is something that you enjoy doing, and the experimentation lends itself to it. But as far as recording, I know that you also have a passion for a lot of older styles, and you like to experiment on that as well. So for this project, what does the recording side of the project look like?
So our first song we did out of my head, we did straight to like a 4-track cassette machine, which was fun, but like very limiting. Like, it's hard to do a good like stereo recording that way, unless you've like really got things planned out well, you know, because you know, whatever you're doing, you're committing to 4 tracks. So it's like you can have more mics and use mixers to get that. But like, you know, for our drum mix, it's like we had like, I don't know, 3 mics, I think, like an overhead and a snare mic and a kick. But they're all going on the same track, which is fine. But then like, any more of that you're doing, it gets harder to mix. Which was a good challenge. And then like we started using the computer a little bit more, but with that more analog mindset, like instead of just having like tons of tracks, you know what I mean? So like the original concept was to do everything sort of analog, but then it's like the 4-track is like not the most reliable, you know what I mean? And it's like that can lead to a lot of frustration. And then like they're so much more expensive than they used to be as well. With, you know what I mean? Like I remember getting my first 4-track for like $60, and now they're like a few $100, like for like a working one if you want. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know. And then it's like I was having dropouts and stuff on some of the channels, and they're not really designed to be repaired. Like they're a little more consumer grade than like a nice like tape machine. And then I bought a nice 4-track Tascam, like reel to reel, but then that has all these issues. So I'm just like, I think the plan now is just we're just mixing down to analog, you know, but like it's we record analog style, so it's like we're not doing a ton of edits or anything. It's very much sort of just playing it straight and like just trying to like get off of some of the things that we don't think about relying on so much like these days, you know what I mean? It, like I like digital recording and I like getting carried away with plugins sometimes, you know what I mean? It's like there's so much cool stuff you can do, but it's like it's so easy to overcook things and like like for something like this, it's like, you know, that's not the answer. So it's nice sort of like just going in with no plugins, and like we, you know, pretty much only use, like while we're tracking, it's all analog stuff just going into the computer kind of, and then like do a mix down to tape. And it's just such a nicer workflow, I find, and like, you know, get off the grid a bit, like click track wise, and like, you know, sort of just like forget about some of that stuff and just like let it just be a little more raw, you know. So that's kind of like our concept, and like we record everything at our house, so it's like, you know, it's not a perfectly treated room or anything, and like I'll just sort of experiment with mics, like whenever we're recording, you know, I'll start like setting up drum mics and just like trying each one on each drum, seeing how I like it, you know what I mean, and like just sort of like taking it slow. And I'll do the same thing on the guitar cabs, and I'll like throw some mics up in the bass, and you know, it's a lot of just like seeing what works for whatever the vibe of the song is, and just trying to make it, you know, as little computer as possible, like no plugins, and just sort of, you know, computer's a great tool, but, and I use it for arranging a lot. Like I'll kind of go in and make demos and chop things up and move them around and sort of like arrange that way. It's like a really good tool for that, but for recording, it's really nice to just like get off the screen, you know what I mean? Like for this kind of stuff, you know, where it's just, you know.
I use a lot of tools myself, like for cleaning up audio, doing, but
it's amazing what you can do.
Yeah, it's really cool to run something through that automates that for you, but I can hear like where you get the digital chirp and stuff, and now when I hang around other musicians that are talking about their craft like you, I start to pick up more things, and because I'm familiar with the way that you can hit those shortcuts, if I can pick up some of those shortcuts and some of the songs that I hear people are critiquing, I'm like, I think the problem is that they lean too much on the tool instead of focusing on what they were trying to record, and then using the tool to enhance it. They almost used the tool like an instrument, and it wasn't meant to be used that way. So, there's both sides,
which is cool. And it's like, because I do dig like super modern stuff where, you know, like I like electronic music where they're using all kinds of crazy effects and stuff, and like that's cool, you know. But it's like, how appropriate is that for the Boojums? Like, unless we're doing a EDM record, you know, which is like probably not going to happen anytime soon. But
and if you watch those guys, like they've got like they're not using something to automate it. Like, it means they could. But there's a lot of it. Like there is a whole separate craft to
exactly.
what you hear sounds like something a computer produced, but like, if you listen to something that was completely computer generated versus something that a person made that's EDM, you can tell that there's human quirkiness to an EDM song.
And that's
like, AI is never going to create that for us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what gives it personality, you know. And
absolutely.
And I find that's the thing with rock and roll. It's like when it's too perfect, it's just like I don't like any rock and roll that's too perfect or polished. You know what I mean? Like.
It's funny when I do clips of live videos, like people will see a couple from tonight's performance, but like if I do full songs, which I do at some venues, I used to just share them right away.
Right.
But because to me, like that's it. That's the version is what you just performed.
Right.
I have had a couple artists, and it's not wrong, but I have a couple artists like, I played a wrong note halfway through.
Right.
Or like,
but that's awesome.
I
sang a wrong
lyric. I'm like, well, that makes it unique. But I didn't notice it. As a fan, I still want to use it. But I mean, if somebody said no, I just shut her down. But still, it's funny.
Yeah, it's like, I get that. And I think, there's nothing wrong with like wanting what you're doing to be really good. Like that's great. But like, I also love, like my favorite recordings are like, I don't know, like Green Onions or something, when there's like a guy who yells when the guitar comes in. He's like, and it's like, that probably wasn't like super planned. But it's like gives me chills. You know what I mean? Or like,
maybe edit it out now.
It's like, I could just picture myself highlighting that and deleting it. And it's like. You lose personality that way.
Radiohead Creep, that crunch guitar was an accident recording.
Right.
So, like, everyone that covers it puts that in.
Exactly. Yeah.
To your point.
Really?
Yeah. You would clip that out nowadays.
Totally. You wouldn't even think about it.
Let's just go clean that and we're done.
So I find like, if you sort of like, just not think that way.
Yeah.
You can still record digitally and, for the practicality of digital, but like,
without losing the personality.
It's like that's what I'm a little more hands off, I guess. It's like just let all that shit live. You know what I mean?
Fighting the ego, like like trying to let yourself, like you gotta tell yourself. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say like you try to tell yourself, like let it breathe and like there's a part of you that always wants to. Oh, I could fix that, but. Like you said, all our favorite albums are never, mine are like never perfect.
Yeah. Usually the best thing is to go have a bite to eat or have a break from it. And then come back. Actually I like the way I do that. Like, most times, in my experience, you're like, no, it's actually way better than I thought it was when I walked away from it.
That even happened with just the first song we did in the first video we did. We were like,
we ran out of tape.
Yeah, we did it in like how many tape? Yeah, that one's on tape.
Remember, we recorded it.
Yeah.
And we had like a pretty good take, and we're like, okay, let's do a few takes, and we're like, that was the one. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go stop the tape machine. I was like, whoa, it's already stopped. Yeah. And then I like rewound. I was like, oh, that's like there was like. All the 4 of our last takes weren't even being recorded. But then we listened through and I was like, oh, this one slaps, you know what I mean? This one that we thought sucked. It's like, there's mess ups on that, but it's like, in the moment we would have been freaking out about that, but it's like, once you remove yourself, you go back, it's like, the energy's good, so let's keep it, you know what I mean?
Much like this episode, for anyone that's been watching all along, there was issues leading up to this.
Right.
So, whatever people are watching, if they think this is good, like, I did a good job, thanks.
Our message today is it's cool to be crappy.
Mistakes aren't necessarily bad. Right? That's what we're going with. So, I guess you have the microphone now, so I'm going to ask you, Sarah.
Okay.
I'm curious, and then, it would go to all of you, I guess, but as far as balancing something like this project with other things that you're up to as well, like we mentioned Beach Show and Skunk Motel. So, is there any issue time-wise trying to squeeze all this in? Like, I just saw you perform at the other day the other day, so...
like band-wise, I find it's easy to kind of plan shows around that, and our schedules have been pretty opposite so far, I think.
Cool.
So that's been really good. I find I'm also a teacher by day, so sometimes that's Peter's as well. But I find that sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is switch from teacher mode to playing mode, and it's like, you know, the schedules work really well because you can do that in the day, and you know, a lot of shows happen in the summer. But just switching your mindset sometimes. But I don't know. I think that's the most challenging thing. But it's easy to keep things to the weekends and summers. So it's not.
Do you have the same similar situations? Like you're also teachers.
Yeah.
Very coincidental.
Yeah. Me and Sarah teach at the same school. I find with my band Beach Hill, we're like, it's almost like we're in an open relationship. We all we all do different things, and we're all supportive. We're just like friends, and they're excited, but you know, I'm excited when they're doing something. And then like we come back with different ideas. I have a lot of that idea. I find I'm listening to different music now, and you know, like it's cool. It's cool.
I love it, and then that kind of also informs, like I said too, like the melting together of the genres in our region. It's and the like Landon's band tonight, so the new line of Gardner, similar. Yeah. Like where everybody's coming from somewhere else. And so I got I was using the term supergroup earlier. We got a couple supergroups kind of into our indie scene here already. So it's amazing. I love to see all the collaborations. Mm-hmm. What's next for the band? Is it just like lots of live performances? You get album thing coming, or what do you?
All basically we've been doing a bunch of live stuff, just to sort of almost like prepare to record. You know what I mean? Like, but like our plans now is just to go all in on the album. Like working on an LP now, and recording, seeing what kind of vibes we can get going, and
you have to make lots of mental notes during the recording process too, and then come back when you're ready to promote the album. And you can dive in a little bit, stories behind the scenes. Because I'm sure, just based on what we talked to, that even the recording process alone and how you came about creating it is probably going to be very interesting to a lot of people watching this today too.
I mean, maybe. Mostly just us in a sweaty little room. It might be interesting to someone, I guess.
Actually, we'll talk about it when we're done recording, but I know someone that did almost exactly that. So they might not like me describing it. Where should people follow you online if people want to follow along, especially if there's stuff coming?
I would say Instagram is our most active outlet. Like, we don't have a website. We should probably have a website, but
we'll get Landon to make one.
That's perfect. He just said he was super pumped about making one, so that definitely Landon's on the hook now. It's on record. Landon's going to make your website for you. So. Perfect.
Thank you, Landon.
Amazing. Well, thank you for spending some time today, and I know we get a little bit of time before the show starts, so we're going to grab a bite to eat and come back down to catch the performances.
Sweet.
So anyone watching along, I know you saw a couple clips of the other performances. Get a little clip of these guys in there too. If you want a full song, you're going to have to go to a show. I'm sorry. Buy a ticket, support the bands. And for recording, we'll have to keep an eye out and see what you have for release dates when you start digging into there.
Sweet.
But definitely want you to come back so we can share all that with the viewers out there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you very much.